Hey Canucks fans, so many JT Miller trade rumors as we head towards Thursday's NHL Draft. Let's talk about some of these rumors and some of the possible destinations being floated out there. I'm Canuck Clay. This is my Canucks take all in one take. It's Clay's Canucks commentary for Tuesday, July the 5th. If you're new, here's what you should do. Hit the subscribe button now for daily Canucks insight that's positive, timely, and trustworthy. Join Parker and me, 10 p.m. Canucks After Dark tonight. Tuesday night, we bumped it from last night because we both had hockey games, and I'm not sure how he did in his hockey game, but in mine, I actually scored the game-winning goal. I don't say this to brag, but they say, act like you've been there before. You guys, I've rarely been there before. So I scored the game-winning goal. It was a 2-on-1. My partner drew the defenseman into the middle, gave it to me, and I stopped skating. I was standing still at the left circle, and I did an Ovechkin or a Stamkos like one-timer, kind of like a half slap or snapshot past the goalie, and it stood up as the game winner, and I even got a player of the game t-shirt out of it. So again, rarely happens for me, but it certainly put me in a good mood last night. Okay, thanks for allowing me to brag for the last 45 minutes. Not 45 minutes, that would be crazy. That's what I do in my live streams, 45 seconds. Let's talk about JT Miller. He's trending on Twitter, and for good reason. A lot of questions about his future with the Vancouver Canucks, especially now that the Boudreau extension was signed, now that the Besser extension was signed. The biggest story that's going to loom over the Vancouver Canucks until something is done is the future of JT Miller. We know his profile, $5.25 million on a one-year contract, 1 year left on his contract. Such a great deal. You talk about outplaying your contract. That's amazing value. $5.25 million for an 100-point player, a center, a leader, an F-bomb thrower, all these things. So we know why there's interest around the league. We know why the Canucks would want to keep him, but we know why it's going to be tough to keep him. They're talking about $8 or $8.5 million. They're talking about 6, 7, or 8 years for a guy who's turning 30 very soon. So, does it make sense for the Canucks to do that? Or if they're not in their contending window, does it make more sense to trade him and reap a bunch of assets, whether it's 2, 3 prospects and picks and roster players? So let's talk about what's out there right now and what makes it so challenging for the Vancouver Canucks to hold on to JT Miller. And like I said, they're talking about Zibanejad money, $8.5 million for 6, 7, 8 years, and I'm not sure if that's in the Canucks, in their plans right now. I've always talked about East Coast U.S.-based teams as the ones that are most interested in JT Miller. That's what we've heard for months, and that's what we're still hearing right now. You don't want to really trade him within your division. A conference isn't as bad if you go to the Central, but still, it's better if you trade him out of the conference. And the 3 teams we're hearing are the Rangers, the Devils, and the Washington Capitals. And this comes from Elliot Friedman, from Jeff Merrick, and from Frank Saravalli. Let's start with the Devils, because that's the most intriguing to me. The Devils hold the 2nd overall pick on Thursday in the 2022 NHL Draft. Whether it's Shane Wright, whether it's Juraj Slafkovsky, the 2nd overall pick obviously has a lot of cachet, and those 2 players that I just mentioned generally considered the guys that are going to go number 1 and number 2 in whatever order. They might not be like generational players, but they're going to be solid contributors for years to come, whether it's either of those 2 players. So I know a lot of people, if it's New Jersey that's interested in JT Miller, are you asking for the 2nd overall pick back and a player like Jesper Bratt? Now, Bratt he had an awesome season last season, 73 points in 76 games, 23 years old, Swedish forward, drafted way back in 2016 in the 6th round. So as a 6th round, he's already played 6th round draft pick 6 years ago. He's already played in 5 seasons for the Devils, and he has over 200 points in 300 games. So he's basically at a .667 or so, roughly, points per game pace. And last year, he's basically a point per game, which is pretty darn impressive. And I could see Bratt fitting very well into the Vancouver Canucks. We need more speed, more skill in the top 6, and he brings all of that. So would Bratt and the 2nd overall pick do it for JT Miller? Well, I'm not sure New Jersey does that, quite frankly. That's a lot, because Bratt's good, and he's been very good. And 2nd overall pick, it just sounds like a lot, but I know Canucks fans would be all over that. So we've heard New Jersey. We've also heard the Miller linked to the Rangers, not just because he started his career there, but because apparently the Canucks were close to, or at least negotiating with the Rangers in the middle of the season, but they insisted on defenseman, right-hand D-man Braden Schneider, where that didn't happen. You know, the Rangers have a lot of young assets like Schneider, like Hito, like Kako, of course, Lafreniere. I'm not saying that Kako or Lafreniere are in this deal, but maybe it's a Schneider, maybe it's a Hito, and maybe it's another draft pick. So the Canucks have always been linked to the Rangers because of JT Miller's history and because that they were at least negotiating a little bit at the trade deadline this past season. The other team that's being mentioned is the Washington Capitals, another Eastern-based team. I don't know admittedly a lot about their roster or a lot of their young players or prospects, so I'm just going to take Sarah Valley or actually use Elliot Friedman's word when it comes to the Capitals and what they may have to offer for someone like JT Miller. Now, whether it's New Jersey, whether it's the Rangers, whether it's the Capitals or another team that I didn't talk about, I guess the last question is, does this make sense? Does the timing make sense right now? Because some would say that this is the best time to move JT Miller. His value, you could say, is probably the highest it's ever been. He's coming off that 99-point season. He's got 1 year left on this amazing deal at $5.25 million. And really heading to the draft, you could have, in theory, all 31 teams interested in JT Miller and putting together packages to offer to the Canucks. Whereas if you wait later in the summer, even after free agency or after the draft for sure, which both happen next week, then already teams are starting to kind of set their plans, set their rosters, and the money will start to dry up a little bit, the money that's available to offer JT Miller. And then if you wait even longer in the season, the Canucks might be tempted to do that to see how well they do with JT Miller in their lineup. Then you worry about injury, of course, to JT Miller. You worry about his health, and you worry about his trade value going down throughout the year. And then if you wait till the trade deadline next season, then now it's maybe the number of suitors has basically dropped to maybe 4-6 contending teams who are going to go all in to try and win the cup this season, as opposed to the 31 teams that could be at least making packages right now. Not that all 31 teams are interested in JT Miller, but you'd like to think that a lot of teams are. So there's all those things to consider when it comes to the timing. I think conventional wisdom would say that his value is the highest right now, but then I don't think you want the Canucks to rush into any deal just for the sake of making a deal. But having said that, I from what I gathered from Rutherford and Alvin, they don't seem in a rush to do much, and they seem to keep their cards very close to their vest. Very few leaks coming out from the Canucks organization over the past few months when it comes to contracts or trades or coaching changes. So all to say, this is going to be a fascinating story to watch over the next couple days leading up to Thursday's NHL Draft, Thursday, Friday, first rounds on Thursday, and then of course beyond that if the Canucks end up not trading JT Miller prior to this Thursday. So be ready. It's going to be a fun ride for sure, and I'll do my best to react to any type of news once it actually breaks. So Canucks fans, let me know what you think in the comments below. Who would be the best trade partner when it comes to JT Miller? And I guess the other part is, do you think JT Miller is going to get traded? And do you think he's going to get traded? And if you do, when do you think it's going to happen? Is it going to happen before the draft? Going to happen during the summer? Is it going to happen during the season? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts as always. Shout out to my sponsors, Perform and Transform, Personal Training and Weight Loss, and to Van City Experts Real Estate Group. Also, shout out to legendary Lucas Gates, legendary Justin Credible, legendary Andrew Chang, and thank you to Hall of Fame members and franchise members as well. If you want to become a member of the CCC Crew, press the join button underneath this or my videos, or the membership tab on my YouTube channel. Subscribe if you'd like to, like this video if you'd like to, leave a tip, a super thanks if you'd like to, become a member or upgrade if you'd like to, and leave a comment down below if you'd like to. Tell me about your thoughts on JT Miller and the likelihood that he gets traded in the next few days. Finally, if you made it this far into the video, 9.5 minutes in, because I scored last night the game-winning goal, simply type the word snipe. S-N-I-P-E, because that's what I did last night. I sniped. So type in the word snipe, and then I know that you made it to the end of this video. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, and take care of each other. See you tonight at 10 p.m. Parker and me for Canucks After Dark. God bless, and go Canucks go.